Hello friends, this is Otz, and we're back again with another good build for every killer episode. This is going to be a guide covering a good build for every single killer. We did this some time ago, you can check it out. There's been one new killer since, so we're going to be covering the new killer that has been released since, the Demogorgon. And this time around, I'm not going to use Ruin on any of my builds. Last time I used Ruin on every single one of them. Why? Because it's a good perk. It is a very strong perk. If it lasts, it buys you time when you need it most. And it is a bit of a crutch. There will be games where you do badly, but because survivors don't find the Ruin, you will still win. And survivors, they generally don't appreciate playing with Ruin. Some of them are so far into the Stockholm Syndrome that when I play without Ruin, they ask me, why no Ruin? It's a long story, but hopefully you'll be able to grow out of it. And trust me, if you manage to play without Ruin consistently and do well consistently, you are on your path to being an amazing killer. We're going to be having a build for every single one of them, as we've said. We're also going to include add-ons up to 1 yellow and 1 green rarity. We're not going to have 2 greens, 2 purples, 2 ultras, none of that. I want you guys to have builds that you can run pretty much every game that will not burn through your add-on reserves, that will make you have fun. And I've handpicked add-ons just for each build, and we'll give my suggestions. We're going to start with the Trapper, then on with the Wraith, and so on. You can find links down below, maybe in the comments, maybe in the description, maybe both, if you're on mobile, so that you can skip to whichever killer you're most interested in. And we're going to begin with the Trapper. So what's up with the Trapper? The Trapper does not need Ruin, but at the same time, he is the best user of Ruin potentially. He can trap Ruin, he can defend it really well. If you are a Billy and you're chasing one person and 3 people are affected by Ruin, that's good value. But if you're a trapper and you're putting down traps and 4 people are affected by Ruin, that's amazing value. That being said, you don't really need it. There are other things that can buy you time. We're going to be using Corrupt Intervention. Corrupt Intervention will be a perk that you're going to see a lot. It is particularly good on Trapper. On the bigger maps, it will it will buy you a lot of space. Corrupt doesn't really buy you time. It more so than that, it buys you space. The 3 furthest away gens will be blocked, and this can give you an amazing 3-gen strat at the end, where the last 3 gens are all clustered together, or depending on the map and the spawns, can give you a terribly nightmarish 3-gen strat where all the 3 last generators are really spread out. Do not use this perk mindlessly. You need to think about what you're doing and what it is you get out of it. Improvise based on the cards you're given in each single trial. The nice thing about Corrupt is that it's very likely that survivors will spawn next to generators that are far away from you, obviously, and that will be blocked. This will force them to go into the map. You will have an easier time finding them, and they will have an easier time finding our next perk, Hunt the Ground. Hunt the Ground spawns 2 lit totems that look just like Ruin or Devour or any other totem. Give me a second, I need to swallow. And should survivors find them, and most of the times they will assume it's Ruin, especially if they see traps. They will assume it's Devour. They will probably cleanse it. This can give you an amazing early snowball if you're already in a chase, which you should be. This is a build you need to play aggressively. This will give you an amazing snowball at the beginning. A guy in a trap, grab him, someone comes in, Hunt the Grounds pop, down him, and you can use that time. Even if you're not actively chasing anybody, those 60 seconds of exposed will make people very, very scared, allowing you to maybe set up traps and prepare a little bit longer than you normally would be able to. So use it wisely. If Hunt the Grounds doesn't go off in the beginning of the match, make sure you trap it. You don't want to trap it unless you spawn right next to it, but make sure you trap it, especially if you can make a survivor see that you trap it. One of the most effective things you can do with this perk, and it is incredible, it's down a survivor, hook him next to a totem, which is usually what you don't want to do, and then trap the totem right in front of them. Or do it if you know someone's looking. Later in the match, you'll hear the trap snap, and you know that 15 seconds after that, this is going to go off. And I've done it a million times. It's really, really good. Will buy you a lot of time. In this slot, Ruin would be an amazing perk. Again, it would make Hunt the Ground more likely to be triggered, and it would buy you time when you need it most. But instead, we're running Save the Best for Last. Save the Best for Last is a perk that I use every now and then, and it's a really, really good mid to late game perk. Don't overthink it. Hit everyone, of course, but if you have the ability try to hit non-obsession survivors preferentially. If your obsession steps in a trap, grab them. If your non-obsession steps in a trap, whack them. That's it. You want to bring up the stacks of this. It will make you a monster later on. Trapper is all about snowballing, and Save the Best for Last is your best snowballing friend. Our last perk is the only information perk we will have, and it's Whispers. Whispers allows you to know if you're setting up traps too much and people are coming to you. It will allow you to find the last person if you slugged everybody. If you're in a 1v1 exit gate situation, you will not have to guess which exit gate the last survivor is in. You can trap one, even if you don't want to. You can not even trap it and just check with Whispers. Whispers is on, that survivor's on that gate, don't ever leave it. It allows you to do a lot of things and get away with a lot of decisions that normally would be very, very risky. I really, really recommend it. If you don't want to run Whispers, the other best tracking perk on Trapper could be Infectious Rite or Nurse's Calling. I don't recommend you run Barbecue. It's good for points, not so helpful on a killer that needs to set up that's not going to roam around the entire map. That's my recommendation on Trapper. As for add-ons, Trapper Bag is a yellow add-on that might as well just be an ultra rare. It's really, 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 really good. Allows you to carry more traps, set up quickly at the start, pick up a trap at the very beginning, and have three traps on you at any times. We'll make a guide on how to play Trapper at some point, maybe a basic guide, but having traps on you is very, very important. You can put them up pallets during chases. This will help you. The next best add-on you can bring is the Tire Bottle. It doesn't work as well on every map, but this allows you to put traps in places that would normally not be conceivable because the trap would be too visible. If your trap sticks out a little bit out of grass with Tire Bottle, they won't even notice it. If you are a good trapper and you want to invest in getting better, Tire Bottle is the best add-on for you. Do not run the yellow add-on though. What is it called? The tar dye. The logwood dye, it's got a similar effect, but it's much, much weaker. Run the green one instead. This build is all about aggression. You spawn, people are far away with Corrupt, they come to you, you use Whispers to find them immediately. Get in the chase, switch targets as much as possible to get Save the Best for Last, and wait for Haunted Grounds to trigger. You down a guy, Haunted Grounds doesn't trigger, switch it up, begin to trap it, begin to bait them into using it, and with Save the Best for Last, you will be a mid-game monster. That's what it's all about. I can vouch for this build, and I think you'll find a lot of success. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, so Wraith is one of the more add-on dependent killers, and it's always going to feel like you're missing something. Ruin is good on him, as it is on any killer, but he also doesn't really, really need it. He does need some lethality, and we're going to use, again, Haunted Grounds to provide that. We want to be able to stop the game early in its track. And the very nice thing about the Wraith is that he has a very, very easy time sneaking up to survivors and initiating the first couple chases. This is good. You want to, at the very start, guess where they spawn, get to them. If they're not there, move on until you find them, and initiate a chase as quickly as you possibly can, so that when Haunted Grounds goes off, and it probably will, you get the most value out of it. Maybe if survivors are very, very afraid, they'll begin to drop pallets, and you won't get anybody with Haunted Ground. But hey, you've gotten 3, 6, 5, 10 pallets early out of the game, and hopefully that will help later. That's the lethality that we have. Alternatively, you could run Save the Best for Last, but it's more of a mid to end game perk. You could also run Make Your Choice, but again, Make Your Choice only comes into effect after you hook one person, and sometimes the rougher games, they are rough because their first chase just takes too long. So Haunted Ground fills that niche. And after that, we're going to have gen regression and gen control perks. Surge is another perk that we're going to see every now and then. Every time you want you M1 one person, hit them with your basic attack. This will make nearby generators explode, lose about 18% of their progress, which is not insignificant. If there's many generators, great. It will make them all explode if they're within 32 meters. And they will begin to regress. If a survivor doesn't touch it immediately, that gen will start to go down. After you pick up someone with a bit of a cooldown, Thrilling Tremors will trigger and will block that generator. If you make a generator explode with Surge and immediately pick someone up, provided that no survivor immediately goes back to the gen, this will block the generator for an additional 16 seconds. And well, if you do the math, 18% plus 16 seconds, you get 20, 22, 23, roughly around that neighborhood worth of regression. That's the same as Pop. And we're also going to use Pop. the general strategy with this build will be to be very fast with your Windstorm add-ons. We're stacking 2 of them together because why not? And down a person, every time you down someone, it's going to be with an M1. You don't have a secondary ability with Wraith that can down people. So Search will proc, nearby gens will explode, you will pick them up, and you will see which generators are not highlighted. Thrilling Tremors does not only block generators, it also highlights the ones that are not blocked versus the ones that are blocked. So the white generators, you will let go. The red generators that are far away will use Windstorm add-ons to get there and pop it. So you'll basically have a build that's all about exploding generators, controlling where they are, and popping generators with Pop Goes the Weasel, whatever they might be, the ones that are far away. That's the general guideline with Wraith. How are you doing, Wraith? He's doing good. That's the general guideline with Wraith. You want to be really, really, really good at body blocking. We're bringing Windstorm add-ons because they allow you to move a little bit faster when you're cloaked. This gives you more mobility and allows you to use Pop Goes the Weasel and Thrilling Tremors to their full potential. But in order to use these add-ons correctly, you will need to be very, very good at body blocking. Body blocking is as simple as running ahead of a survivor and getting in front of the window that they were trying to get to. When they realize that they cannot get to the window, some survivors will be dumb and will try to squeeze their way through unsuccessfully. You can uncloak. You will uncloak slower, but you will uncloak at a lower speed, but you will uncloak at the same time. Notice that the windstorms make you slower when you move while uncloaking, but they don't make the uncloaking take longer. It's a subtle detail. If you're body blocking, you should not feel the effect of this. As I said, some survivors will be dumb and they'll try to squeeze their way through your body block. Don't let them, obviously. The smarter survivors will realize that you're body blocking and will immediately, upon realizing, go around and find the next pallet or go around and try to get to the window from the other side. You need to be very, very quick on your feet. Once you body block someone, see if they notice, and if they do, begin to chase them immediately. Do not body block a window, watch them go away and get to the next place. Be very quick on your feet, practice that with a friend, and this build will definitely get you some success. Let's move over to the next one. Next up is Billy. And you'll notice, I'm going to talk about the add-ons first, that we're running the Insta-Saw. The Carbureted Tuning Guide does a bunch of things, but most importantly, decreases the charge time moderately. And the Primer Build does exactly the same thing, except without all the other effects. These two add-ons are the strongest ones on Billy. They are a bit of a crutch. This is the so-called Insta-Saw. People will hate you for it. You don't need to run them. You don't need to run them. But if we're going to run green and yellow until they rework the add-ons, these are absolutely the best ones you can run. So yeah, be warned about that. If you are very good with really fast chainsaws, when you do not have them, you will suffer. This is a bit of a crutch. Do not rely on them too much. That out of the way, let's go over the perks. Personally, I love Whispers on Billy. You chainsaw at the beginning of the match, see it go off, and you immediately have 100% certainty that you're headed towards survivors. This is something that some people can do away with. Some people are really good at tracking. They know survivor spawns very reliably. They don't need Whispers. They don't really need them. If you're one of those, feel free to change this perk for Discordant. Feel free to change this perk for Enduring, which is also a fantastic choice that I didn't include, or anything else that tickles your fancy. I personally like Whispers. I think you might like it too. Next, we have the wombo combo of Infectious Fright and Thrilling Tremors. Thrilling Tremors is an advanced barbecue, if you will, and it makes sense to run it on Billy. We'll explain why this combo is just so good. Infectious Fright will make everyone within your 32-meter terror radius as Billy scream anytime you down someone. The really nice thing about Infectious since the rework is that it works on M1 attacks, it works on chainsaws, it works on grabs, it works on everything. Anytime you down someone with your actions, someone will scream. And as Billy, this is crucial. Billy is a disgustingly powerful snowballing killer. Someone makes a tiny mistake, someone screams, find them, and suddenly the entire team collapses. This perk is just really, really, really good on him. If you are a bit of a mediocre Billy, or if survivors are godlike, this perk could easily backfire. Sometimes it's better to just down one person, hook them, and move on. And this perk might make you a little bit greedy. I know it's happened to me. I'm not a fantastic Billy, so I know it's happened to me, so fair word of warning about that. However, if you're good, and if survivors are not particularly lucky, this perk will make their lives very, very difficult. It combos really well with Thrilling Tremors because you have information about people who are nearby and people who are far away. If you down a person and there's 3 survivors right there, go for them. Go chainsaw them. If you know that they're not going to do anything and they're in a bad spot, then you know, hey, I'm just going to hook them and I'm still going to find someone. Let's say that you down one person and you hear one person scream. Well, you can go for that person now, and now someone else who is really far away will have to come for the slug person. Maybe the person that screams is your obsession who's down on hook. This just gives you so much information. Pallet saves, not really a thing. If you down someone on a pallet and someone's waiting nearby with a flashlight to go for the flashlight save, not really a thing anymore because they're going to be screaming. Nobody runs Calm Spirit to counter this perk. Going into a locker doesn't help it. Infectious Fright is just that good. Nobody screams, great. You know that no one's nearby. You can pick them up. Go towards the hook, and while you're going towards the hook, you're already going to see which generators are being blocked and which ones are not. You will be able to figure out where you want to go and use your chance of formability to get there. And once you do, bam, pop goes the whistle onto that gen. If you do things right, this is a really, really min build. And it works so well that, guess what? The nurse has the exact same build. Wow. Basically, everything I said about Billy applies to the nurse. So if you just skip to the nurse, tough luck. Go watch the Billy one. Nah, for real. Whispers, again, is good. The nurse's biggest counter is stealth. She's a very slow killer. She cannot walk around and find people, and she makes a really loud noise when she uses her power. So if people are really, really immersed and they hide everywhere and they actually act like you're a real life killer, you're never going to find anybody. Whispers gives you reliable information, even from the very beginning of the match, where people are, or survivors will be located, and also at the end of the match it might help you find the last survivor, exit scenario, and so on. Whispers is good. If you don't like it, if you feel like you don't need it, Discordance would be an amazing choice as well. Again, we have the Infectious Fright and Thrill and Tremors combo. People are nearby, they scream. No one's nearby, pick him up. You'll see which gens are being worked on, and you teleport and use Pop Goes the Weasel right there. It's just that simple. Infectious Fright is good on Billy, but it is disgusting on the nurse. It is probably her best perk. In smaller maps, it basically guarantees that you'll always be chasing someone and chaining chases one after another. It allows you to slug really, really, really well, and that for a nurse is pretty disgusting. And again, should no one be around, you're free to pick them up, block generators, and use Pop Goes the Weasel. It's just that simple. Alternatively, you could use Barbecue. Barbecue on the nurse makes a lot of sense. You can go through walls, so even you can catch people in the open as well. But I feel Thrill and Tremors is also pretty good on her. Use your own judgment to decide which one's good, but I think both work pretty well. As for add-ons, we're bringing both of the add-ons that increase the charge speed. This is what will make you a little bit more like the old nurse. Old nurse could do a double blink and then recover from the fatigue and do a double blink again. Current nurse needs to wait before she gets her second blink back. With these two add-ons together, the wait is so minuscule, you're basically old nurse with no add-ons, which is not a bad thing at all. It's what I recommend if you're used to the old nurse. If you want to experiment with her other add-ons, please feel free. They're not fantastic at the lower rarities, but they're pretty good. The ones that make survivors louder are good. There is a lot of things to test and run. This is what I would recommend though. And that's just the nurse. She's just as strong as ever. Don't let anybody tell you that she's been nerfed to the ground. She's very, very fine, especially with these add-ons and especially with these perks. Let's move over to the next one. Next one's going to be our girl, the Huntress. And this is one of those killers that really, really will suffer for having no ruin. All the killers up until now, you can see the alternative. Ruin on Huntress, even really good Huntresses run Ruin. And that's because she's a very slow killer. Bigger maps have an impact on her ability to chain chases one after another. And good and smart survivors will give you trouble during your first chases, potentially. Ruin is just good. It is hard to give it up, and I don't see a lot of Huntresses do it. But here's my best guess as to what you would need. First of all, we're going to have Corrupt Intervention. Again, we're going to be blocking off generators that are far away. This is not going to be super helpful in the average map, but in maps that are big, where you would normally struggle, it will come in very, very handy. There is nothing worse than spawning in a map where you know that before you even get to where all 4 survivors spawn, they're going to pop a gen because you're just so damn slow. Corrupt will block off those far away gens, buy you a little bit of space and a little bit of time, and hopefully when less generators are available, survivors will be grouping up. That's where discordance, keep it at level 1 if you will, watch the video if you don't know what I'm talking about. That's where discordance will come in. Discordance lets you know very reliably where 2 survivors are working on the same generator, maybe even 3, maybe even 4, at least 2 survivors working on a generator, and that's where you're headed right away if you see this proc. You want to, in order to make up for the lack of ruin, you want to disrupt as many survivors at once as possible, and you want to have very reliable information. If you're Whispers guys, Whispers would be fine here as well, but again, you'll need to have a really good guess, and you risk survivors. With Corrupt, you risk 2 survivors. With Whispers, you could find 1 survivor that's in the open, and you risk 3 survivors working on the same gen, popping it in like 2 seconds, giving you a really hard early game. That's why I think Discordance makes sense. Thrilling Tremors, again, is a very reliable gen control perk. Anytime you down someone, make sure you reload someone. You reload after you down someone. Go reload, then pick them up, then look around and see which gens are being worked on. Pop is a bit of an afterthought. As a Huntress, you're going to be downing people, you're going to be reloading, you're going to be missing hatchets. You're not going to have a lot of time to run around the map with your lower speed and using Pop. Think of it as a bit of an insurance. If it works, it works. If you have the ability to use it, great. Don't go out of your way to use it. Your best bet with a build like this as Huntress is to down everyone and kill everyone, not to control gens like Billy or Nurse can do. As for add-ons, the Flory Babushka is still, as far as I know, an amazing add-on. Allows you to wind up your hatchet a little bit quicker, get shots that normally would be difficult. You could go for the other Mana Grass Braid yellow add-on that allows you to do the exact same thing for a total of 20% faster wind-up. But I think the Breeder's Toxin is pretty nasty, and I reckon some survivors would really hate to go against it. This is a brown add-on that makes people exhausted. It is a terribly outdated add-on that is really powerful for a brown. You hit a guy with this, no dead heart, no balance landing. If they had Sprint Burst and they didn't use it, no Sprint Burst. All these exhaustion perks on a Huntress, they hurt. They hurt really, really. They hurt quite a bit. Being able to deny them will piss off survivors and will probably give you a bit of an edge. So that's probably what I would run if I was trying my best. Again, this is not a super optimal Huntress build. You do not have Whispers to have reliable information. You don't have Ruin to slow on the game. You're not even bringing Nurses. You just have reliable perks that will help you know where to go, and it's up to you to make it work. Huntress is not easy. She's a good killer, but she's not easy. So best of luck if you do this. Let me know how it goes. Let's move on to the next one. Next one is going to be our theme, Halloween theme, Michael. I love Michael, and I think this build is fantastic. Right, so this build is all about breaking the barrier of the early game and then becoming unstoppable. This build has a weakness, and it's the early game. You don't have Ruin to buy you unlimited time to get out of tier 1, which is the state that you begin as with Michael. And that might hurt. If you chase a survivor who runs you around a place where you can't stalk him and you make bad decisions at the beginning of the game, you will lose and there will be nothing you can do. This build is all about getting through that initial barrier, and then really the game gets started. Once you get out of tier 1, which again should be as quickly as possible, you want to get an early tier 3. Don't even try to 99, get an early tier 3 as soon as possible and stab some bitch. I mean it. Give them it. Stab them. Get that first down really, really quickly. Monitor and Abuse will let you have a really, really small terror radius when you're out of chase. At tier 2, this will give you an 8-meter terror radius, which is amazing. Allows you to really sneak up and will pair really well with the rest of perks. But the rest of perks, again, will work really well together. Let's say you go into tier 3. Monitor and Abuse will give you a bigger terror radius because you'll be in chase. So you go from 60 meters to 32 meters in tier 3. And during chase, this gives you another 8. So you'll have a 40-meter terror radius. Big one. Infectious Fright would be a choice, but we're not going to run it. Instead, we're going to be running Pop, Search, and Surveillance. Pop, we already know what it does. Once you hook a survivor, you have the ability to go kick a gen, make it regress a big amount. But Search and Surveillance work really, really well as well. And they work very passively. Let's say I get that tier 3, I down a survivor. Any gen he was working on nearby will explode, lose regression, and begin to glow white. This is very important. Surveillance doesn't require you to kick the generator. If you do, great, but it doesn't require you. As long as the generator is regressing, it will work, and search will make it regress, meaning that once you get that stab, you can make sure that that generator is not being touched. If it is touched, it will glow white. It will glow yellow for 16 seconds. And that gives you a lot of information. Throughout the game, you will use tier 3 in a clutch to proc search and get surveillance, and also to down someone and use Pop Goes the Weasel on another gen. The really nice thing is that while you're not in tier 3, you will have a really small terror radius. Smaller still because of monitor and abuse, and that's the genius of this build. When everything calms down, survivors will slowly go back to the gens that are regressing, either by pop or by search, and you will see them glow yellow, and you will have certainty that a survivor is there. And monitor and abuse will allow you to walk right up to them, and they will have barely a second to react before you're really close. This can be further amplified by the Dead Rabbit. Dead Rabbit reduces your terror radius as well. Unfortunately, it doesn't stack additively. It stacks after monitor and abuse does. So this would normally decrease your terror radius by 6 meters. No, by 4 meters? Yeah, I think it's by 4 meters. By 4 and increase it by 4 in tier 2 and tier 3. It doesn't work so well with monitor. It overlaps a little bit. So if you know for a fact that you're going to run the Dead Rabbit, maybe you could even replace monitor and abuse with something else. You could go Infectious Fright for that, or Whispers, Discordance, some kind of information perk, even Corrupt Intervention. Anything in this slot would go well if you're already going to count on the Dead Rabbit, which is a budget monitor and abuse. But let's say you're not sure you're going to run it, stick to monitor and abuse in that scenario. The second add-on we're going to run is the best possible add-on to increase the stalking rate, which of course is always a good thing with Michael. Also, since I opened up the perks, let me show you why I hide my offerings. I don't want to have this information here, so we're going to block it again. We're going to disable that, and there you go. Pretty. So again, use tier 3 to snowball early in the game, or to stall the game early by downing people early. Get an early Pop Goes the Weasel, and begin to use search and surveillance to control generators, and you reduce their radius from monitor and abuse and Dead Rabbit to get really close to them and harass them. That's basically how this build works, and I think it's pretty damn good. Really recommend it. Moving on. The Hag. The Hag, similar to the Trapper, is a bit of a feast or famine kind of killer. This is a build that I've used on a number of times, even without add-ons. I think it's fantastic. As a Hag, you will notice sometimes that there's times where everything is under control. You got survivors where you want them, traps are all set, and it's a disaster waiting to happen. And there's times when you're out of control, and the traps are getting triggered, you don't have time to reset them, survivors are doing gens, you don't have a 3-gen strat, everything's going wrong. This build is a little bit like that. When things go well, they will go really well. When things go bad, it will be a little bit harder to come back because you don't have the insurance of ruin covering your butt and giving you a lot of time at the beginning. That being said, even in games where things go really bad, the Hag has an easy time coming back from them. I've had games that I thought were lost. They make one tiny mistake, everyone's down on the ground, and the game is won again. Let me tell you what it's all about. Corrupt Intervention serves a similar purpose to the Trapper. You block away far away generators. People come to you, and what they find is a web of traps that you carefully lay out at the beginning of the game. Monitor and abuse will reduce your terror radius from 24, which is already very small, to 16, which is tiny. 16 meter terror radius is disgusting. It will allow you to be in peace for a long time and be unnoticed largely. If you sneak up to a survivor, they will have little time to react, which is amazing. It's really something to play against the Hag with monitor and abuse. If you experience it, you will know what I mean. Nurse's Calling pairs really well with this. If you have everybody injured and somehow everybody makes it to safety, roam around, maybe place a trap or two. Eventually you will find someone healing, probably in a bad spot, and you'll be able to see them from 28 meters. It's just disgusting. You can see them from like so far out of your terror radius. You can really creep up to them. Save the Best for Last is a really good choice on the Hag. If you build it up, you will be able to hit someone, recover really quickly, and teleport to the next trap they trigger. This allows you to keep your traps much closer to each other and get a lot more value. Sometimes if you hit a survivor, they trigger a trap, you can't teleport, they trigger another trap, you can't teleport because you're still like licking your fingers, and they trigger 25 traps and there's fuck all you can do. We'd say the best for last. That will rarely happen. You will hit someone, be ready, teleport someone else, hit someone else. It's gonna be crazy. You don't want to overthink it. If you find the obsession, don't try to ignore them. You cannot afford to do that as a hag. Hit the obsession. Fuck it. Just hit them. If you hook the obsession, well, everybody else will have to come, and you'll be hitting everybody else while the obsession is on the hook. Just don't, unlike other killers, you don't really have much of a choice. Just hit everyone indiscriminately, unless you have a really clear choice of who to go for, right? Don't overthink it. Hit everybody. Eventually, the stacks will be there, and they will make the hag much more fearsome than she already is. Your strategy with these perks is, again, to spawn, see where survivors are, begin to set up a bit of a perimeter, and pretty much wait for them to step in your perimeter. Once they do, try to corral them further into your traps. Don't try to chase them outside. Sure, some survivors you will be able to chase them down, put a trap in a loop. They can't do anything, make some small mind games, make some good plays and down them. Good players, you'll have a much harder time, especially if they use their exhaustion perks correctly. So that's going to be difficult. Don't commit to long chases with hag, and keep your garden tidy. Yeah, just tend to your garden and wait for them to step on them. That's basically how it works. Once they're in your trap perimeter, slug and set up more traps, hook them, set up more traps, and yep, you'll do well. Add-ons, we have the dried cicada. Gotcha. The dried cicada, which increases the distance you can teleport to your traps. This one's just disgusting. It allows you to teleport to your traps from like a different map. I really like it. And for a yellow, you could honestly, there's a lot of things you could bring. I personally like the speed add-ons. I like to teleport to a trap, hit a guy, set it up again on the exact same spot, and then watch him trigger another trap, teleport to that one, hit him, then reset it. I like that kind of playstyle. The turtle eggshells, the ones that allow the traps to stay up for longer, are also pretty good. You have a variety of add-ons. The hag's yellow and green add-ons are all fantastic. So feel free to work out what works best for you. These are my favorite ones, however. And that will be it for the hag, honestly. The hag doesn't need ruin, but you must not make mistakes. It's very easy with corrupt, depending on the map, to have a nice 3-gen and then suddenly find out that one of your gens is gone, and now your strategy is out of the water and your perimeter of traps is useless because they're going to do gens far away from it. You'll need to be very careful with your planning and be very good with your execution. That's pretty much it for the hag. Still a very strong killer. Up next is the Doctor. And the Doctor is another one of those killers that can really struggle at the beginning of a match and have a really long first chase. Some of my worst matches where I really can't do anything are with Doctor. He is a difficult killer to play. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But we've got some resources. You'll notice that it's a very similar build to what we've had. Corrupt Intervention will make the faraway gens be blocked, and will allow you to bump into survivors. And guess what? You don't need whispers, you don't need detection perks. You can use your terrorists at the beginning to make one survivor scream. If you find someone, great, go chase them. If you don't find anybody, use your terror radios, you'll find at least one person. Don't make everybody scream at the beginning. You want to save that ability. Let's say we make one person scream. We go, we chase them, we use our shock here and there to deny them of a pallet if possible, or of a window if possible. It's difficult, but you can do it. You down them as quickly as possible. You put them on the hook. Now you use your terrorists again, and someone else that's nearby that was hiding screams. You go chase that person. Beautiful. Now someone else who is not close, because they didn't scream, will have to come from far away, and that's when they'll trigger make your choice. Now you go back to the hook, and if the original person had screamed and you turn your terrorist, that person will not scream anymore. The rescuer with make your choice will scream, and then you can go find them. And if you make a good play, maybe you can down him. And now you have a bit of a snowball potential, and you got some early downs, and you have some lethality. I think make your choice on Doctor is pretty damn good for this reason. Let's say that the original person that you downed didn't even scream. You can make them scream, and they'll be injured because they just got out of the hook. So that's an easy target as well. Maybe you can hit them and get stacks or save the best for last. Maybe instead of chasing someone, if no one screams, you can go and use Pop Goes the Wizard on a gen that you know has progress. That's my general idea with Doctor. Save the best for last will allow you to deny them of distance. When you hit a survivor, they will not be able to run super far away. That might help you keep them in the loops that you want to keep them at, because you've already destroyed the pallet or because they're in a weak area of the map. Good perk on him, but again, you got Make Your Choice, which only works when you hook someone. You got Pop Goes the Weasel, which only works when you hook someone. You got Save the Best for Last, which only works when you build up the stacks, obviously. And you got Corrupt Intervention, which can heavily backfire. This can be a great build, or it can absolutely destroy you if you don't know what you're doing. Alternatively, Make Your Choice could be replaced by Haunt the Ground, just like just like Wraith. Go on, wait for it to trigger, then use your Terror Radius. Find people who are hiding, one-shot them. It's not a bad choice at all. You could even run them both. Instead of Save the Best for Last, you could have Hunt the Ground here. That would be my other idea of a good and reliable build. But again, with Hunt the Grounds, nothing is reliable. As for add-ons, the add-ons on the Doctor are not generally amazing. Some people will tell you, oh, use the range add-on the Brown. No, none of the add-ons really help you shock much better. If you get range, you also get longer charge time, which doesn't let you use your ability in the ways you should be able to. The ones that I like are Restrain, which show you the aura of survivors. This really helps with Make Your Choice and Hunt the Ground. If someone's hiding, you can see their aura when they scream. If they're behind the wall, they're not going to know that you're seeing their aura. So you might be able to make a play and anticipate their movements, seeing their auras for a couple seconds when they scream for the first time. When you put them in tier 2 and tier 3, they will also scream, which is just really good. This also allows you to see more Doctor illusions throughout the game. Normally, Doctor illusions only really show up and are visible to you when they're in tier 3. Which is not all that often. Tier 3 with Doctor, not super worth it. But this makes them visible at tier 2. Throughout the game, you will have random illusions here and there. This can help you figure out where that elusive survivor is. Maybe that person that's dead on hook that you need to find, this might give you that little bit of information. It's a good add-on to have. The other one is Order. Increases the madness inflicted by your static field, making them scream a little bit faster. And it also shows illusory pallets to survivors who are madness 2 and 3, which is good. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I should have done my research. I believe that this begins to work even if you have no one on madness. So that's good. You can break pallets and they should already be replaced. I think also that even survivors without madness can see the pallets, but I'm not sure. They shouldn't be, but I think they do. It might have been a bug that was corrected, but at any rate, make survivors get tier 2 at some point and they'll begin to see illusory pallets, and it's a bit like illusory pallet Freddy. It might get you a hit in a situation where normally a survivor would have made a better decision. I think these two add-ons are decent. And that's what I would run on Doctor. Again, don't expect really consistent results, because unfortunately the Doctor is very inconsistent. You could play him really, really well and do the exact same thing and have different results because, you know, ping messes with his ability. You shock a survivor, and if on their screen they've already placed space, they're going to drop that pallet or roll that window. It's a little bit inconsistent, but there's a lot to learn from him, and I hope that you dedicate some time because it's worth it. It's worth it. His add-ons will most likely be reworked, so don't get your titties in a twist if you don't understand anything. He's most likely going to change in the future, and maybe we'll make another video covering it. Next up, Cannibal. Oh boy, do I love Cannibal. Similar to Billy, his best add-ons are Carburetor Tuning Guide and Primer Bulb. Some people will try to tell you that Carburetor Tuning Guide and the Beast Marks are the best add-on. They're not entirely wrong. That combination is pretty good. Here's how it works in a bit of a nutshell. With Primer Bulb and Carburetor Tuning Guide, you have faster charge time, but you are slow when you swing your chainsaw. With Carburetor Tuning Guide and Beast Marks, which is the other green add-on, you have slower charge time, but you're fast when you begin to swing your chainsaw. So basically, if you have the Beast Marks, you can charge up a little bit earlier and catch up with the chainsaw. And if you have these two combinations, you need to charge up your chainsaw when you're literally next to them. You cannot charge it up from a bit of a distance. Right, so with these two add-ons, don't bother charging your chainsaw from far. You need to be smelling their breath and being able to tell what they had for breakfast to use your chainsaw with these two. But again, very, very fast chainsaw. Good shit. Is it OP like Billy? Not at all. Even with the best add-ons, Cannibal is still Cannibal. But it's the best thing we can run. Play with your food is the Cannibal perk. I love it. It's wonderful. Find the Obsession, which you might with Discordance. Find the Obsession, let them go. Chase them a little bit again. Pretend to be a dumb idiot. Let them go again. Now you have 2 stacks. Now you can down anyone. anyone. Even though Bubba is not particularly good at getting stacks, he is the best killer at preserving them. I've explained this a bunch of times, and I'm sure I have a game somewhere here or there where you can see for yourself how effective this is. But the general idea is that get stacks of flavor your food, and now your chainsaw is a lot more dangerous. You chase a survivor, they keep looping you because they think you're slow. You're not that slow anymore. You use a stack, but you get them with a chainsaw. Now you have a stack left, you can find another survivor and hit them with the chainsaw as well. Stacks are really, really precious. Ruin in this build would help us build up these stacks and gain a little bit of time. But we're going to try to do without it. Discordance, again, will let you know where two survivors are to disrupt them, which is good, and to potentially find your obsession, which is great. Monitoring Abuse, severely underrated perk on Bubba. When people hear your terror radius, they begin to reposition. Being able to have a couple seconds on them robs them of very precious time, and being in a bad positions against Bubba with a fast chainsaw is deadly. I've caught up a lot of groups with Monitor and Abuse and have a lot of early game slowdown and stall thanks to Monitor. I recommend it. And as for our last perk, also Monitor increases your terror radius when you're in a chase. This is not particularly amazing, but it might scare people off a little bit, and maybe they'll group up and Discordance and Play With Your Food would come into play as well. I like that fact as well. Our last perk could be Pop. That would be a safe bet. You know, down a bunch of survivors, hook them one by one, pop generators here and there. But I think that your best bet is to run Devour Hope. Devour Hope might make a survivor waste a little bit of time at the beginning of the match if it gets found right away, which is bad, but it lets you something. It will let you know where one person is at the very least. But if survivors forget about it and you begin to get a couple quick downs, you will build up these stacks really, really quickly. And by the time they figure it out, it will be a massive, massive mid-game staller, because everyone will have to stop what they're doing and look for the Devour Hope. And if you're lucky and it's in a nasty spot, it can very easily win you the game. I'm not going to recommend it on a lot of killers, but this is the one killer I would really, really run it on. Given the circumstances. That's my build for Bubba. Feel free to experiment with other stuff. Do not run Enduring. Do not run Brutal Strength. Some people will tell you, oh, because you're going to be breaking pallets with your legs as opposed to breaking pallets with your chainsaw to save stacks of Play With Your Food. Nah, don't run it. Don't run a perk that's only useful sometimes. Run a perk that's useful as much as possible. That's my philosophy with Bubba. Freddy. Oh boy, Freddy is a disgustingly strong killer right now. We have the Search and Surveillance wombo combo with Pop Goes the Weasel. Similar to what we've seen before, your idea is to down a survivor as quickly as possible, ideally in less than 60 seconds. With your snares. We're not going to be using illusory pallets. You spawn in, you find someone, and you'll have an easy time finding someone because survivors can see you from far away. It's not tracking with Freddy is not that difficult. I wouldn't recommend whispers on him. I think you can find survivors. Hopefully you sneak in one hit and you make them fall asleep. Perfect. Now that person is susceptible to snares. They will have to drop every pallet on Earth to get away from you, and even then, you might even still hit them. Down that person. Nearby generators explode. They're now highlighted in white. Now you use your teleport to go across the map to that gen they know they're working on. Or if you don't know, just walk around and find out. And use Pop Goes the Weasel. Now that generator has lost progress and it's also highlighted in white. Amazing. Throughout the game, you might have situations where you have a guy on the hook and literally all 5 or all 3 generators left are white. And you know that no one is working on a generator because they're still white. Even if they reach back to 0 due to some weird bug, they still glow white. So you're going to have amazing knowledge throughout the game of where people are. And guess what? If generators are all white, you can camp the guy on the hook. You can just literally sit right fucking there. If they unhook him, you down him. No borrow time if they're asleep. If they are not asleep, borrow time will tickle down. Freddy's an amazing camper and an amazing tunneler. Sorry to say it. But yeah. This information allows you to do what you should be doing best, which is apply pressure where it hurts the most. You will need to guess where survivors are working on. You will not bring Discordance. You will not bring Barbecue, although those are fair fourth. If you need to bring a 4th perk, those are good choices. Instead, you will just guess. Nearby gens will explode. Far away gens guess, teleport, and use Pop Goes the Weasel to keep them at bay. Your 4th perk here can be devastating. Ruin really ties this build together because it allows you to make sure that you down one person before any generator even pops, which is oof, I cannot overstate how amazing that is. We don't have Ruin because of our little rules. So instead, Devour Hope is an amazing perk on him. It will, at the very least, it will waste someone time. It will waste the time of a survivor, making them fall asleep without doing a gen super early, at the very worst. At the very best, just like with Cannibal, it will buy you an amazing amount of time and will make you super, super deadly in the middle game. There's a game right there, me using Devour Hope, if you want to know what it looks like and how disgustingly powerful it can be. This is more of a, you're doing gens? Well, you robbed me of a gen to pop or to use surveillance, but now I've got this. It's a bit of an insurance more than anything. You could also alternatively run make your choice, which is good, but not great without barbecue or other information perks. Or save the best for last. Save the best for last on Freddy is absolutely disgusting as well. A guy goes for a save, you hit them, he gets a save, you hit them again, you recover super quick, and now you hit the guy that just got saved. Everybody down on the ground, no border time. It's just that really, really strong. You can run that as well, and it would be an amazing, addition. As for add-ons, my personal favorites are the ones that slow down people when they're asleep. They're pretty disgusting. Even more powerful with Ruin and Surge and Pop. Yeah, it will make everything else just all that stronger. Because now, Pop normally takes away 20 seconds of progress. But guess what? If 20 seconds, that's 20 seconds working normally. If they're asleep, those 20 seconds is 9% longer, which is, let's see, like 20, almost 24 seconds. Yeah, that Pop Goes the Weasel is now a little bit stronger. That Surge is now a little bit stronger. Jump Rope just ties this build together. You can also use the Nancy's Masterpiece or the Sketch to teleport faster and be able to check on gens quicker, which is also really, really good on Freddy. Those are the two add-ons, the two add-on families that I would recommend. Really, really strong build on Freddy, but let's be honest, you could play Freddy with no perks and still outperform most other killers, which is crazy. If you haven't played Freddy since the rework, you're missing out on a killer that probably will get a nerf because he's way too strong right now. But hey, here's hoping it's a minor one if they do nerf him. Let's move on to the next one. The Pig. Oh boy. People love playing the Pig, and even though I'm not the best, I love playing her as well. We're gonna bring Save the Best for last because reasons. Save the Best for last is an amazing perk. Again, you recover faster after building it up, not allowing people to get as far. It also has really good synergies for the mid game of the Pig, where you down one person, someone's on a box, you go hit them again, and you constantly switch targets when everybody's busy. The really nice thing of running Save the Best for last on Pig is that it's not affected by her dash attack, her ambush attack. This is both bad and good. It's good. It's bad, obviously, because you can't build up while you use your attack. But it's good, because you can use your attack on the obsession. So if Survivor 1, Survivor 2, and Survivor 3 are my non-obsessions, I will use normal attacks on those. And if Survivor 4 is my obsession, I will only try to hit them with ambush attacks. And then I will completely negate any loss of stacks. That is really, really good. It will help us during the mid-game. Keep that in mind, and Save the Best for last is an amazing perk on the Pig. Also for the mid game is Pop Goes the Weasel. While everybody's busy taking traps off their head and so on, you go on Pop Gens, and it's generally just a really good perk on her. And then, not much to say else about it. But yeah, another strategy that some people will use against the Pig is 99 generators. They have two friends with bear traps on their head. They don't want to finish the generator to give them a bit more time to find it. You go unpop it. They won't be able to get away with that anymore. The next up we have Monitor and Whispers Wombo combo. This is a popular combo on Pig. You can see why. Whispers, of course, will let you know where people are when you approach them 32 meters away. And normally, by the time Whispers activates, they would hear your terror radius. And you know they're there, but they also know you're coming. With Monitor and Abuse, your terror is reduced from 32 to 24 meters. And when you begin to crouch, your terror radius shrinks like this. It goes like this. Ooh, slowly. Takes about 4 seconds if I'm not mistaken. Here's the thing. If your terror radius is big, it goes like this. 4 seconds. Ooh. But if your terror is small, it goes like this. Ooh, 4 seconds. It takes the same time, but it's reduced from a smaller radius. What does all of this mean, Otzdarva? I don't want to think. Alright. This is what it means, you stupid bitch. You go up to a generator, Whispers is on, you press control, you crouch, and they don't even hear your terror radius. That's what it means. Isn't that great? This takes a lot of thinking out of the equation. Normally, if you want to use your stealth as a big, you go up to a generator, you take your calculator out, you look at the sun, you calculate the distance, then you begin to crouch before you get there. Whispers is on, then you keep crouching, and you're slow because you're crouching, falling asleep, and you get there, and someone's gone because they had spine chill. This simplifies the equation a lot. You get to you go towards a generator, Whispers is off, you crouch, you keep approaching, you uncrouch, or you grab them, or you do whatever. It just makes, you don't have barbecue, you don't have discordance. Those perks would be fine as well. Feel free to run something like that. But instead you have a thing that simplifies your stealth and allows you to have a better early game. As for add-ons, we're running 2 add-ons that will buy us a little bit of time. The Last Wheel is an incredibly good add-on, one of our best ones, and it's a yellow one. Go run it. It makes you have 5 reverse bear traps as opposed to only 4. This just basically gives you 1 extra bear trap to put in a survivor that you particularly dislike, so they have to do another search. And another search could take 30 seconds or it could take 2 minutes. So that's pretty significant. Of course, if you're terrible and you can't catch anybody, this will not help you because you won't be able to put any one trap. But yeah, if the game is going well, this will help. Jigsaw's annotated plan gives them 1 extra jigsaw box to search. It also increases the timer, but you don't care about that. You're not going to kill people with the timer. You just want to waste their time. Instead of searching for 4 boxes as they usually do, now it's 5 boxes. And if it's a big map, it will take them a while to get through all of them. This is pretty damn good for you. It means that instead of having a 25% chance of getting it off on their first attempt, now they have a 20% chance. And if someone is really, really, really unlucky, they will search 1, search another, and they'll find it on the 5th. That's a lot of time this perk is buying you. Sorry, this add-on is buying you. So yeah, by all means, run it. This is probably the best add-on combination at this level of rarity that I allow to stall the game and buy you time. Pop Goes the Weasel will also help in that regard. Meanwhile, Save the Best for Last just ties everything together, gives you some mid-game pressure. And these two, we've already explained in detail what they do. Hopefully, that makes sense to you and you get a lot of success with this. Let's move on. The Clown. Oh boy, do I love the Clown. This is one of my favorite builds to run. And I can really, if not the best build, at least it's the most fun you can run on him for sure. We're going to have again the Corrupt and Haunted Ground combination. Far away generators are blocked. Survivors more likely to come to you, more likely to trigger the trap of Haunted Grounds. You do not have Whispers, so you're going to have to be pretty smart about your pathing and check very thoroughly. You don't want to, walk one way and not find anybody and be in search of 5 minutes. Pay attention to at the start of the game. Find a survivor early, get in a chase, switch targets if you have to, and wait for Haunted Grounds to go off. It will go off, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And we've pretty much already covered how it works. They trigger it, 60 seconds. You can one-shot anybody. And this is good, but it's even better with the next perks that we're going to bring. We have the combination of Save the Best for Last, I know, never used this perk before, and Dark Devotion, which is one we haven't covered yet. And this is a bit of a happy if I see you, happy if I don't. Normally with Save the Best for Last, you don't find the obsession, wonderful. You find the obsession, you're like, ugh, this dickhead, why? With these two combinations, it's actually pretty nice. If you don't find the obsession, great. You have Save the Best for Last, you build it up, and on the Clown, Save the Best for Last is very, very good. You slow them down. More so with the add-ons, we'll cover them in a minute. You slow them down, you hit them, they don't even get that far, you recover immediately, and bam, stab them in the back of the head, again, 1 second later. Really, really good stuff. But what happens if you find the obsession? Even better. You slap them on the back of the head as well, and now they carry your terror radius of 32 meters. And for 30 seconds, you have no terror radius, which is fucking hilarious. You can go and grab people off generators as a clown. It's great. I've done it. I'm sure there's a video somewhere where we can show it. But yeah, it's extremely, extremely fun. And the really nice thing about Dark Devotion is that it has a very odd and amazing synergy with Haunted Ground. Let's say Haunted Ground goes off. You find a guy, you hit him. You find another guy, and it's your obsession. You hit them. And now, for 30 seconds, you have one-shotting capabilities with no terror radius. So you're like a spooky, funny-looking Michael Myers that can creep up to people and one-shot them. I've won games in a couple minutes because Haunted Ground goes off, I find the Obsession, I hit the Obsession is on the ground, so no one's gonna go get them because they have a terror radius and everyone's scared of the terror radius of the one-shotting killer for 1 minute. So no one goes get them, and during that time you just creep up to people around the map and bam, one-shot them on the ground. It's fantastic. It also allows you to make some really unexpected plays. You hook a guy, you go find the Obsession, hit the Obsession, come back to the hook. Someone rescues in front of their face because they think borrowed time is a thing. Borrowed time, if you don't have a terrorist, not a thing. You can hit the unhooked person, get a stack of Save the Best for Last, slug them to avoid DS, and go chase the other guy now. And you have a lot of people paralyzed. Dark Devotion is very underrated in my opinion. Here's how you use it. First time you hit the Obsession, they're going to be very confused. Especially if you let them go and they still hear that. If you chase them very tightly, they're not going to notice. But if you hit them and let them go, they're going to be very confused. Some people with like thousands of hours still think that the game is glitched because nobody runs this perk. They're going to be very confused. But if they're smart, they'll eventually figure out that you have this perk. And when you hit them and let them go, they'll just heal and they'll go about their business because they know that, it's just the effect of the perk. And that's where you catch them. That's the second nice thing about this perk. Once you hit them and let them go, they don't know if you're gone or if you're coming back because the terror radius is constantly on them for 30 seconds. So the thing that you could do later in the game, and this is pretty damn smart, is hitting them, letting them go, making them think they're safe, and then just creeping up to them because they don't expect it. Learn how to use it, and I think you will love this build. For add-ons, we have the Flask of Bleach, which is possibly his best add-on. It allows you to slow down survivors not just by 15 but by 20%. This allows you to catch them in loops that normally would not be possible, and it's just amazing. It's a good add-on that makes clan a little bit better, but it's not super unfair. The survivors don't really notice it. I think you like it. I think you would like it. Give it a shot and see how much more hits you can get. The next add-on that survivors rarely notice, and this one for real they barely notice, is the Starling Feather. Starling Feather decreases the cooldown by 50%, I believe. Yeah, it cuts it in half. Normally when the clown brings up his bottle, he's not slowed down at all. But when he releases it, he is slowed down quite significantly. It's basically a time where you let it go and you're like slow for a second, a little bit like Plague, where she lets go of her puke. And then you're brought up to your normal speed. With the Starling Feather, this time is cut in half, meaning that the time that you're slowed down is also cut in half. That is very significant. Not only does this allow you to throw bottles back to back faster, that's not the useful part. It allows you to throw a bottle and immediately move back at your normal speed much quicker. This allows you to throw bottles during chase and not lose as much speed. And it just pairs really well with the Flask of Bleach. This might just be one of the best, if not the best, add-on combination out there, believe it or not. Although the one-shotting Pinky is pretty good. Another add-on that you could bring that is a lot more intrusive for survivors is the Soben Jug, which is also a yellow one. This makes them exhausted. If they have Dead Heart, they're gonna fucking hate you. But you're a clown, so you can take it. Feel free to run that as well. Pretty strong combination as well. This is a really fun clown build. I really recommend you try it. The Spirit. Okay, we're not playing Spirit, boys. Let's try that again. Hopefully, we'll do it right here. Alright, we're gonna skip the Spirit maybe. Nah, we're not. Alright, same idea. We're gonna block this so it's not in our way. Beautiful. The Spirit. The Devour Hope is the best perk to run on the Spirit. Normally, the Devour Hope is one of those perks that if it doesn't get found, it wins you the game. If it gets found, they cleanse it, and it's a bit of a tragedy because you lose it before it can do anything. Big problem with Devour is that when someone sees it, they're gonna cleanse it. With the Spirit, though, maybe they won't. One of the Spirit's perks is Haunted Ground, the one we've been covering quite a bit up until now. Haunted Ground is so common on the Spirit that if someone sees a totem and they don't notice that there's ruin, and it's the Spirit, they're going to assume that Haunted Grounds is there. They might see your Devour Hope and ignore it, which just makes it so damn good, doesn't it? That's why I recommend running it on the Spirit. It's a bit of a gamble, but it's one that might pay off, and it just makes a strong killer even stronger. Sloppy Butcher and Nurse's Calling is a fantastic combo on the Spirit. This one slows down their healing. This one allows you to catch them while they're healing. You have reduced 24 meter terror radius, if I'm not mistaken, so you can see people from outside of your terror radius and bait them. You see them heal in a corner. You look away, charge up your face completely while you look away, just in case they have someone looking at you, and then look around, go find them in the corner and slap them. With Sloppy, you might persuade them not to heal, because they're like, oh, this healing takes too long, I'm not going to use self-care, I'm just going to do gens. That can easily get them killed and can easily backfire. People who are injured, if they don't have Iron Will, are really easy to track. And basically, anybody who is injured in your match as a Spirit is a free down, because you can track them through basically anything with their moaning sound. So yeah, anti-healing perks for a killer that can really benefit from people being injured. And last we got Pop Goes the Weasel. Very generic regression perk. Once you hit someone, make your best guess as to which gen is on and go pop it. You could also run, instead of Sloppy or Devour, you could run a more reliable information perk such as Discordance, Whispers, Barbecue, Thrilling, and would pair better with Pop. But again, as a Spirit, you don't even need this. Just like Huntress, you rely on actually killing people, and you'll just use Pop Goes the Weasel wherever it's appropriate. You don't really need to use it throughout the match to win. You'll eventually just kill anybody. As for add-ons, my favorite family to run are the increased activation time. Charge speed rather, allows you to do your little motion and begin to move faster, and the increased recovery. The duration, all the add-ons on the Spirit, let's be honest, all of them are good except maybe the phasing ones, and even those could be useful. All of the add-ons of Spirit are busted, or they're incredible. This ones might just be the best ones though. You don't want to use your Spirit duration for long. You want to keep it in short bursts, so we're going to stay away from the duration. She's already pretty fast, so the speed ones, they're good, but they're not necessary. These two would probably be more useful for your average map. And that's pretty much it for the Spirit. You might struggle in big maps, you might struggle against immersed survivors. Feel free to bring other perks if you're afraid of those. But other than that, you're going to do well. I've run really bad perks, brown or no add-ons in Spirit. People still DC, people still give up, people still lose very consistently. She's just that good. Let's move on. Next up is the Legion. If you don't run Ruin on the Legion, you are one brave motherfucker. I'm just going to put it simply. Are there good perks on him? Yes. But the biggest enemy of Legion are big maps where people spread out. And if they do that with no Ruin and you're not lucky, you're in trouble. You're in really big trouble. Instead, we're going to try to use other slowdown perks and other clutch perks. We're going to have the Save the Best for Last, combo with Infectious Fright. This is a bit of a novelty. Save the Best for Last it's a good M1 killer. And Legion, you would think, if everybody's injured, why do you need Save the Best for Last? Aren't you going to one-shot them anyway? Here's the thing about Legion. He can build up Save the Best for Last better than any other killer. You find a survivor, you stab them. You find the next survivor, you stab them with Feral Frenzy right after. Then you hit that survivor again. Then you hit them normally. That's 4 stacks in like 30 seconds. That's amazing. Being able to build up stacks allows you to switch from Feral Frenzy, everybody injured build, to I'm now an M1 killer. I'm going to catch someone in the open. I'm going to hit them if they're healthy. I'm going to catch up. I'm going to down them. Now anybody around them will scream with Infectious Fright, and I'm going to switch targets. I'm going to keep as many people that's injured as possible. Nasty Blade will make sure that if I manage to chain chases and to chain Feral Frenzies, they'll have to take a little bit longer. This is 1.5 extra seconds. 1.5 extra seconds, not super significant. But 1.5 extra seconds with Thanatrophobia? Okay. Now this is beginning to hurt a little bit. You have people who need to men who are being slower. You have people who are doing gens who will now be a little bit slower. You have people who will need to heal and are now being slower. And if they don't heal, Save the Best for Last will make them Save the Best for Last and Infectious Fright will make them very vulnerable. There are other perks you could be running, but this is my best guess as to what I would run without Ruin. Thanatrophobia, I think, is best used on Legion. You will not see me use it on any other killer. I don't think it's that strong, but it can complement the rest of her build somewhat well. If Thana allows you to get to delay a generator by a few seconds, that might just be enough to be able to use Pop Goes the Weasel. Pop Goes the Weasel doesn't go well with slugging. That's absolutely correct, but you'll have to be very smart about what you do. At the very beginning of the game, use the extra duration to make sure you chain hits as much as possible. Use Nasty Blade to slow them down a little bit with Thunderphobia. Build up stacks to save the best for last. And throughout the mid game, use Pop to defend the last couple gens, and Infectious Fright and Save the Best for Last to clutch the game and keep them on their toes. Depending on the map, this could be really, really strong. Some other maps will be a little bit harder. You'll have to work a little bit more. Instead of Infectious Fright, another quiet and very useful perk is I'm All Ears. I'm All Ears is there's an example of how to use it in that video that I'm going to link right now. I'm All Ears is a really good perk to make sure you focus on a survivor and get them down as quickly as possible. Instead of the Nasty Blade, you could also use the Legion Pin to make sure that people stay broken when you double stab them, which you will, because Save the Best for Last is a thing. And you can also use the Green Duration add-ons with the Yellow Recovery Ruler. That's a good combination of add-ons as well. Add-ons on the Legion, not so strong, unfortunately. Even the best ones, they have very marginal effects compared to, say, the Spirit. But this is my guess as to what I would run on the Legion. Sloppy Butcher instead of Thunderphobia is also an idea, and it would encourage people to stay injured and make your other perks stronger, but it wouldn't help with the people that are doing gens, and it might result in people just focusing on gens and Pop Goes the Weasel being less efficient and less useful. There's nothing worse than having Pop available and seeing 3 gens pop. Now you can't use it. Now it's a useless perk. This is my best guess. Still, though, Legion is one of the weaker killers. You will have good games, but you will also struggle a lot. Remember to play absolutely ruthless. If everybody's injured and you have a guy on the hook, don't let them have a free on hook. Legion is a really good camper. He's a really good information gatherer. Notice that we don't have Discordance, we don't have Barbecue, we don't have Whispers. You need to rely on your ability to stop one guy and see around you with the killer instinct ability to see where people are gathering and what's up. You need to use that information from your power, and you need to play very, very optimally if you want to be consistently good with them. But that's my best guess as to what would work. Next up is Plague. Plague, unfortunately, has lots of alternatives to Ruin. Ruin will buy you time to get everybody infected, but if you play her well, you don't need it. Corrupt Intervention will make faraway gens get blocked, and the closer generators you can spit on. You can use your puke to puke on them. This will very heavily encourage people not to touch them and will buy you a lot of time. With Corrupt Intervention, it's also more likely that survivors will stick to the same generator, and then Discordant comes to play. Alternatively, you could use Whispers, especially with the add-ons that we're going to talk about in a minute, but I think Discordant also works here. This is the build that Fungoose, a good friend of mine, has used to win over 100 games in a row, and by win I mean 4K-ing every game, consistently with no add-ons. It's a very tight build, and I'll tell you why. Corrupt, again, seals generators. You can puke on the ones that are not sealed to have a really good early game gen control. Discordance gives you information. 2 people there, great. Go and try to infect them both. You want to get everybody infected. Don't try to get them fully infected. Just get everybody infected. Remember that fully infected people will be contagious. So if you put a guy on the hook who is fully infected, that person will infect whoever unhooks him. Keep that in mind. Pop Goes the Weasel will help you control the late to mid game, and if you manage to use a pop early, that will also be very, very crippling. It's your gen regression tool throughout the game. If everybody decides not to cleanse, you need a perk to really take advantage of that. And Infectious Fright is probably one of the best ones. Play with Your Food could also work here, and other perks could also work here. But Infectious has the added benefit of being really good if people don't cleanse, because you down a guy and then 2 people scream, and those 2 people are injured because they didn't cleanse, and now they're vulnerable. One of them might be in the open. Go get him. Free down. Very, very massive snowball potential. But if they do cleanse, this perk is even better. You down a guy with your puke, now someone around him screams. You go and down them in 2 seconds because your red puke, the corrupt purge, is just so powerful. And being able to bring 2 corrupt purges at the beginning of the game is amazing. I think the apples are severely underrated, and if you bring an apple or 2, good lord, you can do a lot of damage. If I wanted to take full advantage of this damage, I would run Corrupt. Or maybe not even Corrupt. I could run Whispers to make sure I know where I'm headed. And I would drink up from one of these apples if it's on the way immediately. Use Whispers to find a survivor, down him in 2 seconds, make someone else scream, and go for the early snowball. If survivors play it wrong, you can down all 4 survivors in a minute or 2 minutes. Not even joking. Go watch that video if you're interested for a demonstration. If not, you can use it to get a couple early pops. Make sure the early gens are terrible, and you already have 1, 2, 3 people on a hook, and you'll be able to kill one of them very soon, early in the match. And then pop is amazing, infectious fire is amazing, everything becomes so much stronger. So yeah, plague absolutely does not need ruin. This build is quite something. Feel free to experiment though. Ghosty also doesn't need ruin, and I think this build will satisfy you. You can see an example of how to use this build right here, and it really lends itself well to the abilities of this killer. Corrupt Intervention will block again faraway generators. This will force survivors to work on the same generators, and you can guess which ones. Let's say there's at the beginning of the match there should be 7 generators, if I'm not mistaken. 3 of them get blocked, and now you can see that maybe 1 or 2 are the really good candidates of where survivors are going to be. You begin to use your Night Shroud, you creep up to these generators, and you maybe get a stalk on 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe all 7 survivors right there. That's really good. Get that early stalk. Mark survivors if you can. You can stalk them to 99%, then get close and seal the deal. That's how you will operate with Ghostface. Next up, Nurse's Calling. Nurse's Calling is disgustingly powerful on Ghostface. If they heal, you will be there. If you're playing one of the smaller maps like Hawkins Laboratory or Larry's Memorial Institute, the hospital, you will have such an easy time catching people. You don't even need to stall. You can stab them once you creep up to them, and they will never have a safe place to heal because you'll be able to see them from basically anywhere. You have a 0 terror radius, 0 meter terror radius, meaning you can creep up to them with absolutely no warning and catch them mid-heal. If 2 people are healing, you can find an angle to stalk them both. If they finish healing, doesn't matter, they're both exposed now, or 99 for later. Be sure to 99 those people, make them feel they're safe. If someone doesn't know they're 99, they're gonna make a bold play later. You have a guy on the hook, someone comes to rescue, he's 99, expose him, down him, now you have a guy on the hook, a guy on the ground, and 2 people who don't know what the fuck is going on. Really, really powerful. Nurse is one of his best perks, for sure. In some maps, it will basically mean a free win for you. And later, we could be running Pop, we could be running Ruin. Those would be good choices. But these perks are amazing. They just work well with Ghostface. You don't need to go on Pop gens when you don't want to. You don't need to defend Totem where you might not want to. Instead, you have 2 perks that work every time you stab and down someone, which is what you do with Ghostface, and that give you information that you can act on. Just like Myers, if you know someone's on a generator with Ghostface, that is incredible. If I know someone's on a generator with Trapper, I walk up to them, they hear my terror radius from, 5 miles away, they hide in a locker, they go away, they sprint burst to oblivion, I have no idea what's going on. With Surveillance on Ghostface, you know they're there, you creep up from an angle, you get a grab, you stalk them, you stab them, it's up to you. They're not gonna know you're coming if you have no terror radius. And guess what? Thanks to the 2 add-ons that we're running, forgive me, I didn't have it available. Thanks to the 2 add-ons that we're running, the Shoot Pen and the Olsen's Address Book, which both increase your recovery. If you don't have one of these 2, the brown add-on Matchbook is also pretty good. One of these 3 add-ons are the best ones you can run. This will make your recovery go from 30 seconds, but base, which is pretty bad, down to 16 seconds, which is pretty damn amazing. Every 16 seconds, you can potentially lose your terror radius and your red stain to help you in a chase, to help you creep up to Nurse Calling targets, to help you creep up to surveillance, generator procs, to help you creep up to basically anything, and to even help you mind game some tiles because you don't have a red stain and so on. Very, very, very strong. These 2 add-ons are by far the best ones you can run on him. The purple ones, mostly situationally or useless. The pink ones, not so useful, alright, but I cannot recommend it too much. Run this build. I think you like it. Again, you have a demonstration in that link up above if you want to check out how it works. And last but not least, our Demogorgon boy. Oh boy. Right, Say the Best for Last has a similar issue with the pig. Similar issue as with the pig. You can do normal attacks, which you should be doing. Don't try to use the demo dog's shred attacks all the time. You will fail. It will be unnecessary. Use them when you have. It's a bit like Huntress. If you can, actually no, it's actually not like Huntress at all. Because with Huntress you want to go with your hatchets because they have a benefit. They have the benefit of giving you a shorter cooldown. With the Demogorgon, you don't want to do that. You want to hit them normally to build up stacks to Say the Best for Last. Or, if you have no choice, use your shred to get them. If it's the obsession, just like pig, you will use your shred only, which is much easier than the pig, to make sure that you always preserve your save the best for last stacks. I'm sorry, I hate seeing these perks. Give me just a minute. Well, yeah, we're gonna enable this again. Select it. Disable it again. Perfect. So as I was saying, save the best for last works just like the pig. You build it up by normal attacks. Don't get too greedy with the shreds. They're easy to miss. Use them to bait survivors and then hit them normally. And the obsession, shred only. Be very good at getting close range shreds, and be very good at being able to tell when people fake it at windows and pallets to make sure they don't bait you and you don't miss your shreds. And Save the Best for Last would be a disgusting perk. When Save the Best for Last is at 8 stacks on the Demogorgon, you become a bit like Huntress. Huntress is all about hitting a headshot and then maybe hitting a normal attack right after, because they don't really have that much time. With Save the Best for Last, is going to be the opposite. You're going to hit a normal attack, you're going to recover immediately, and then you'll use a shred to catch them at a window or a pallet. I just cannot express just how good this perk is on him when you build it up. You will not always be able to build it up as quickly as you would like, especially not as quickly as, say, Legion. But if you do, this perk will carry you. Infectious Fright will make you be able to snowball a bit once that has happened. And before that, it can help you decide whether or not you're going to slug a person and maybe go for a guy and maybe get a pallet out of him, or maybe get another stack out of him and then go back to the original person, pick them up, use Pop Goes the Weasel, work on the gens, and of course we got Corrupt Intervention to help us in bigger maps, help us to set up some portals. The nice thing about Demogorgon is that you're almost never going to worry about 3 gens too much, not as much as other killers. If you have a 3 gen strat that is a little bit far away, that can actually not help them that much if you can still use teleports through your portals. So Corrupt Intervention has a lesser chance of backfiring as opposed to using it on another killer. Nice thing about portals on the Demogorgon, the ones that you haven't activated are invisible. So if you're really trying to defend a generator, don't put just one portal and then teleport, because they can cleanse it. Instead, put a portal, put another portal next to it somewhere else, use one of the portals, and if they cleanse it, they wasted their time. Now you can teleport to the other one that you put beforehand. Double down on portals and use it in this manner. And you have a very reliable way of covering distances, or going through walls, or going up in a building that would normally require you to go all the way around it. Use your portals smart, but most of all, get stacks to Save the Best for Last. Be very, very good with your shreds to not miss them, to make sure you hit the obsession. And eventually this will be a monster of a killer. Ruin would help us get stacks to Save the Best for Last, and it would help us overall a lot. I would probably run it instead of Corrupt, or even instead of Pop Goes the Weasel, and not worry about Pop that much. But we don't have it available, so this is the next best thing we can do. As for add-ons, I personally like the deal long. Whenever you want to be somewhere, you usually want to be there very, very fast. You have Pop and you want to be there right now. Being able to teleport that little bit quicker is good. My next favorite add-on, believe it or not, is a brown add-on, the Rat Liver. It increases your movement speed from 90 to... When you're charging your attack, you're a bit like Huntress. Huntress moves extremely slow when she's holding her hatchet. The Demogorgon is not so slow, but he's also slower. Survivor, if you begin to charge your attack and your hands look like this, survivors will actually be faster than you. So if you do it forever and they run in a straight line, they're going to gain distance. With the Rat Liver, not anymore. You go from 92% speed to 101, meaning you're a tiny little bit faster than survivors, meaning you can actually use it, fake it, stop using it, and then hit them and lose no speed whatsoever. It's one of my favorites, and it helps you get those shreds. Sometimes you go around the corner, you know the survivor's going to vault that window, you prepare the shred, and you need to prepare it because the longer you hold it, the farther you go with your shred dash attack. So you need to prepare around the corner, and you let go, and the survivor's already past the window. With Rat Liver, you'll have a smaller slowdown, and you'll be able to hit around corners and in very, very clutch situations where you normally wouldn't be able to. And I think that makes it worth it. And it's definitely not brown add-on material, but whatever. All the other add-ons on Demogorgon, not that amazing. This is the combination that I like the best, but it's really up to you. Another trick you should do with him, if you know survivors are nearby, put portals close to each other. Teleport into a portal and appear right next to where you went, and that moment of no terror reduce will make people come out of their hiding spot and expose themselves, and that's where Save the Best for Last is powerful again. Got a guy on the hook, hit him again, guy on the hook, runs away, shred, bam, you're out of the eating him. That is my best guess as to what works on Demogorgon. But again, some maps really deny you of your ability to use your shred because the way the loops work, they don't allow you to do it. And some survivors are really good at baiting, so you'll have to play really well. Demogorgon is a really high skill cap killer in my opinion, and don't expect to do well every match. Try to learn from your mistakes, see what you've done wrong. That is all for all the killers. And what is it, Demo? What? No way. They watched all the video and they didn't like the video, subscribe or comment and like my Facebook page? Oh no, you can't do that. You can't eat them, they're my viewers. Guys, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to leave you here before this gets violent. Thank you so much for your support. I hope the video was helpful in a way or another, and I'll see you in the next one. If you're still alive, please be alive. Don't let this man eat you. Thank you so much for watching. Oh man, I love this glitch. If you guys don't know, memes aside, you can turn every killer in the loading screen. They're probably gonna fix it, which is a shame because it's really cool. I didn't want to do it for every killer because it's so distracting, but isn't this the coolest thing ever? I love it, and I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you again for watching.